count 7 felony firearm. Defendant 1 has to habitual offender 3rd offense notice. Appearances to the record, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. John, KCP number 56162 on behalf of the people.
James O'Donnell on behalf of Mr. Timmy Soto, who sits directly in front of me.
Kimberly Stout on behalf of Ms. O'Neill, who sits in front of me, Your Honor.
And Gabi Silver appearing on behalf of Christian Rasnick.
Okay. Are we ready to proceed with the next witness?
Yes.
Yes. Now, this time we call Lieutenant Phil Harris to the stand, please.
Sir, please give your name and spelling to the court report.
Lieutenant James Hill Harris.
You swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do swear.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you very much. Sir, can you begin by stating your full name for the record?
Yes, James Hill Harris.
And where are you employed?
Detroit Fire Department Fire Investigation Division.
Very good. How long have you been in the Fire Investigation Unit?
I've been with the Detroit Fire Department for 16 years. I've been with the Fire Investigation Division for the last 5.
Your Honor, for purposes of exam, I'd ask if we'd have a stipulation that Lieutenant Hill Harris be allowed to testify as an expert in the investigation and determination of the cause and origin of fire.
So stipulated on behalf of Mr. Soto.
Stipulated for purpose of exam, Your Honor.
As will I, Your Honor, for purposes of exam only.
All right.
Thank you very much.
The court makes a finding that the witness may testify as an expert in that area. You may proceed.
Thank you. Lieutenant Hill Harris, how did you come to be involved in the investigation of the case that's before the court today?
I was investigating the vehicle, a 2015 Ford Explorer that burned on December 19th. I flagged it for further investigation when I realized that it was owned by a Detroit firefighter. I called the firehouse to notify him that his vehicle had been burned. He was not at the firehouse. I called his phone to contact him. That was on December 20th, I believe.
Was there any response, any answer?
No response, no answer.
How did you go about conducting your investigation into the cause and origin of the fire that consumed the vehicle?
I located the vehicle at Boulevard in Trumbull. I responded and conducted first I memorialized the scene with photographs as I found it, and I systematically inspected the vehicle. I did a preliminary inspection of the vehicle.
What's located at the Boulevard in Trumbull?
That's a tow yard.
Is that a tow yard?
It's a secure tow yard.
Very good.
Where the vehicle was transported after the fire.
What else did you do after looking around the vehicle, photographing to document the condition of the vehicle? What do you do from there?
I visually inspected the vehicle for parts, marketable parts missing or removed, stripped. That would include wheels, tires. I inspected the steering column to see if the ignition had been defeated. It hadn't. I'm looking for the area of origin. I'm trying to determine where the fire actually physically started.
You mentioned about looking around the vehicle for what we call marketable parts. Were there any marketable parts missing?
There were not.
Why were you looking to see if any marketable parts had been removed?
Because it's a valuable vehicle. It's a 2015. It kind of goes towards the reason that the vehicle might have been taken. So I look for those marketable parts being removed as a possible motive for why the vehicle was taken. And none of those parts were removed.
How did you go about trying to determine the location, the origin of the fire?
Fire patterns, looking at directional fire patterns to determine where the fire was spreading from and where it was traveling to. And I was able to determine that the fire originated inside of the passenger compartment and spread from the passenger compartment to the rear of the vehicle and also to the engine compartment of the vehicle.
What else were you able to determine, if anything?
At that time, myself and my 2 other co-workers, we had the vehicle transported to Jimenez on evidence for further inspection and also an extensive excavation, which we needed more equipment to be able to get into.
And why did you move it from Boulevard and Trumbull over to Jimenez?
More secure location.
At Boulevard and Trumbull, is it enclosed parking?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But no over. It wasn't inside, it was outside.
I got you. At Jimenez Towing, was the vehicle placed inside?
That is correct, yeah.
Out of the elements?
Yes.
When you say excavation, what do you mean by that?
It's a systematic process of removing the layers of debris in order to determine evidence or a timeline of events.
And were you able to do that investigation over at Jean's?
Yes, I was.
And what were the results of your investigation?
That the fire had occurred in the interior portion of the passenger compartment, and also that the fire was ignited through flammable liquid accelerants.
How were you able to determine that it was flammable liquid accelerants that were the cause of the fire?
We have a arson K9 hydrocarbon tracking unit, PASTA, that's certified through ATF, and we did use her at the scene. So her handler came and ran her through the vehicle, and she alerted multiple times, and we were able to determine that it was gasoline present.
Whereabouts in the vehicle was she alerting at?
The console area near the driver's side seat.
Did you prepare a report reflecting the results of your examination and the conclusions you reached based on that examination?
I did.
I'd like to show you what's been marked for today's date, February the 26th, 2016, as proposed exhibit number 1. Pictures in this little report.
Okay, no objection.
I may approach.
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you proposed exhibit 1, 12-page document. Taking a look through that. Do you recognize that, sir?
I do recognize it.
And what is it?
This is my origin and cause report for the 2015 Ford Explorer that was burned.
And does it also include the photographs that you took to document the condition of the vehicle when you examined it?
It does.
What conclusions were you able to reach as to the cause and origin of the fire?
That the fire was intentionally and maliciously set, and it was ignited for the purpose of crime concealment, probably related to the murder of
I'm
the
going
owner
to
of the
object to
vehicle.
that. I mean, he can certainly testify that he believed that it was related to something, but I don't think he can conclude as to what the intent of somebody else was.
Sustained.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move to proposed exhibit number 1. We have no further questions of the witness at this time. Defense may have some.
No objections to the admission of exhibit, whatever it is, photos.
1.
Any objection?
Today's date.
No, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Sullivan?
No objection, but it's a new Exhibit 1 for today's
For
date?
today's date, yeah.
Okay. No objection, Judge.
Received.
And on behalf of Mr. Soto, I'm going to pass for questions.
Okay.
Yes, as well.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. You may sit.
I may approach and publish exhibit 1.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. This time we're going to recall Sergeant Blant Sullivan at the stand.
So please give your name and spelling for the court, clerk. Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? May I begin with the prayer?
Thank you very much. Sir, can you begin by telling us your name again and your occupation?
Yes, my name is Lance Sullivan. I'm a sergeant with the Detroit Police Department Homicide Section.
And what's your relationship to the case before the court today?
I'm the officer in charge of the case.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as, with today's date, as proposed exhibit 2. This would be the audio recording. It was previously identified through witness Barbara Welch. You recognize that disc there?
Yes, sir, I do.
And how did you come into possession of that audio recording?
It was sent to me by Miss Welch.
Now, this time we've moved to admit the proposed exhibit 2. I think we may have already admitted it through Miss Welch, but we'd like to play it. Got the audio equipment, I believe, working today.
It's been admitted.
I think it was admitted.
I think it was admitted at the very first
First
hearing.
day.
Okay.
Correct.
And I did, at least at that time, make an objection as to it being hearsay as to my client. I continue that objection.
That's understood.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, question. pin that on him as that white boy that he came to my house with?
No, actually, I want to talk to you face to face on that level, but no, he actually gave me a name that called him, honestly. It's not him.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, I'm going to talk to the guy, like, you know what I mean?
Who was that dude? Because I've never seen that motherfucker.
Rasnick?
Rasnick?
Yes,
Chris Rasnick?
Fucking little scumbag bastard.
Okay.
And like, when I see you, I really want to see you, you know what I mean? I have my car right now, I don't know, because we did that, like, when that's how they call us, we have to wait for the police when they chase us. And he did that to my car, shit on it, so I don't know if they bugged it because they had my shit on it, so I don't really want to talk about you like that. Well, I like home, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want everybody to get the wrong impression, and I might say something wrong, I mean something different to you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't want to, that's why I called you that day, but I don't want to support you, but I want to give you a heads up, let you know, fill you in what's going on, because, you know, you're my girl, I mean, you're my man, so I'm just trying to...
How do you spell his that Rasnick? How do you spell that?
R-A-S-N-I-C-K, Rasnick. R-A-S-N-I-C-K, yep. You know, Mary Rasnick, Ryan Rasnick, there's a fucking shitload.
And you said his name was Chris?
Chris, he's the young one, and you don't know, as soon as you see his fucking face, you don't know who he is. He'll pop right up, girl. Soon as, he'll pop right up.
Okay, yeah, because I ain't never seen Old Boy before. That's why I was asking. Oh, alright.
Alright, so, like, I've been so busy because I've been working and, like, just coming out of the fucking email. It cost me a fucking great girl, so it's like I'm broke. You know, and I'm just trying to clean up everything. So, like, if you could just remind me, like, when you're free, because I know you're busy, just hit me up. I'm like, hey, if you want to go out, you know, have lunch, hit me up, and then I'll come to you.
Okay.
Alright, girl.
Okay, you're welcome.
Alright,
Bye.
And again, that was the recording provided to you by Barbara Welch of the conversation with Miss O'Neill, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you also, regarding the arson of the vehicle, did you have occasion to go to the scene of Bangor and Magnolia Streets in the city of Detroit?
No, I did not. I asked some investigators to go to that scene.
Would that be Detective Eric Young?
Yeah, Detective Trooper Eric Young from Michigan State Police.
And did he recover some video from that location?
Yes, he did.
Showing you what's been marked for exam purposes today's date as proposed exhibit number 3.
And that's from where?
This would be the video from Bangor and Magnolia Streets.
Okay.
Any objection?
I have no objection.
I have no objection, Your Honor.
Scott?
This was shot by,
This is a video recording of area of Bangor and Magnolia Streets, site of the arson fire.
shot by...
Security video.
Oh, security video. Thank you, no objection.
See?
All right. Did you also prepare, showing what's marked as proposed exhibit number 4, just a little map showing the location of the cameras?
No objection.
Did you prepare that proposed exhibit number 4?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what does that show us?
This is it's an aerial view of Bangor and Magnolia. And what I did was I placed symbols on the paper to depict the camera angles that are utilized in that desk right there.
We move to the proposed exhibit number 4.
Could we see it?
Yeah.
Please. Thank you.
We don't have it, do we?
There's a copy of it on the disc with the video too.
So we have these, this is showing, videos where the
Yeah.
vans.
Where the cameras are.
I know, but the videos of the van.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I hear no objection, I believe, here.
No objection.
Mr. O'Donnell?
We just
Yes,
wanted to.
no objection.
All right, proceed.
I may approach for and this time play exhibit number 3, the video.
Is this the burning car or is this the white car?
Yes.
I think this is going to be the one. What are you doing? See what the committee going? Can she sit over there on the left? What? Can you see it too?
Okay, Sergeant Sullivan, would this be the
Back seat, sir.
one of the camera angles depicted on your map?
Yes.
Okay. Which direction is this camera facing?
This would be, it's kind of at an angle, but it's mostly southern, facing the south.
Have you been to this area as city of Detroit?
Yes, sir.
Can you just describe, we just saw a vehicle turning, the area that vehicle just turned into, what's located there? Is there a house, a business, what is it?
With the vehicle that turned from the center of the screen to the right side of the screen is a field.
Is there another vehicle visible?
Yes, in the center of the street facing north.
So what appears to be a person visible as well.
Yes, sir.
We just had a picture pop up. Would that be the other angle?
Yes, that camera's facing north.
What happened to the lighter vehicle that was parked in the street? Where did it go?
The vehicle traveled, what would be north off the screen, or from, I guess, right to left towards the bottom of the screen.
Now, there was a time and a date on there. Is that time and date accurate? Or is it off?
It's off.
What time was that fire reported to police?
Right around 7 p.m.
On what
Give or
date?
take a few minutes, on the 19th of December, 2015.
Now, I believe you testified previously that you went to the initial scene of Mr. Madrigal's home, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what date and what time did you arrive there?
It was December 19th, 2015. I don't recall, somewhere around 8 or 9 p.m., maybe a little later.
And I think you may have testified previously about observing a hat somewhere in the home.
Yes, sir.
Where was that hat observed?
There was a hat, Detroit Pistons baseball cap, that was sitting on the couch in the living room adjacent to Mr. Madrigal.
Did you make any observations about that hat?
Yes.
What did you observe about that hat?
Number one, it didn't appear to fit in that house. We had talked to a relative inquiring.
I'm going to object to hearsay and speculation about what a hat would fit.
Well, not for the truth of the matter, sir. Just, I asked you about testifying just to explain why he does what he does with the hat.
I'll take it for that limited purpose.
Thank you. Please proceed. What about the hat got your attention?
Again, from my investigative background, I guess I'd say it did not fit in that house.
When you say did not fit in that house, how do you mean?
It was a flat brim Detroit Pistons baseball cap. What I noticed at the time, Mr. Madrigal was wearing a New England Patriots football hat that had a curved brim. Generally, people, from what I've seen, that wear curved brim hats, wear curved brim hats. Those that wear flat brim typically wear flat brim.
Just for the record, I'm going to object to that sort of generalization. Just for the record, I'm objecting, Your Honor, to that sort of generalization about whether someone would wear a flat or curved
Again,
hat.
offered as to why the officer took whatever actions he took based on his knowledge and experience.
Thank you, Your
I'll
Honor.
take it for that limited purpose. So
Thank you.
You may proceed.
So what did you do with that hat?
I advised that it be collected and put on evidence.
Okay. At some point in time, we kind of let me move ahead. At some point in time, did you conduct an interview with someone who's identified to you by the name of Nicole O'Neill?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, and on what date did you conduct that initial interview with Miss O'Neill?
January 26th, 2016.
And how was that interview set up?
Basically, I asked Miss O'Neill to come in and talk to me.
Did she agree to come in and talk?
Yes, she did.
Was she in custody at that time?
No, she was not.
What prompted you, why did you reach out to Miss O'Neill and have her come in to talk to you?
She was a person of interest on the case.
And for the record, you see Miss O'Neill in court today.
Yes, sir, I do.
Can you point her out to us, tell us where she's seated and what she's wearing so we know who she is?
She's seated in front of the defense table wearing green Wayne County outerwear.
Indicating for the record, defendant number 2, Nicole O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Honor. When Miss O'Neill came in to talk to you, where did that interview take place?
At Detroit Police Headquarters, 5th floor.
And was conducted in a room that has audio and visual recording?
Yes, sir, it was.
Was it audio and video recorded?
Yes.
What prompted you to have her come in at that point in time?
Mr. Soto had been previously arrested, and what I wanted to do was talk to everybody and then kind of get them comfortable in talking to me. During the investigation, I was made aware that Miss O'Neill knew Mr. Madrigal, so I wanted her to explain that to me, that relationship.
And when you first sit down with her, do you advise her of her rights?
No.
Why not?
She wasn't under arrest. In fact, I advised her she didn't have to talk to me. She could leave at any time. And I asked her if she knew she was not under arrest, and she did. She agreed.
And once the interview was completed, what happens with Miss O'Neill?
She leaves.
Very good. During that conversation with Miss O'Neill, did you ask her about whether or not she knew the victim in this case, David Madrigal Sr.?
Yes, I did.
And how did she respond? What information did she relate?
She stated she knew him. She'd known him for quite a while. He worked at a firehouse near her house, or her residence at that time. And she also said that she used to live over on Vaughn Street and knew Mr. Madrigal lived over there also.
Regarding Mr. Madrigal's home, did you ask her if she had been in Mr. Madrigal's home on Vaughn Street around the time of the offense, December 19th, 20th?
Yes, I did ask her.
And how did she respond to that?
She said she has not been in that area, in that neighborhood since 2014.
Did you ask her what's the closest she came to that neighborhood?
Yes.
And how did she respond to that?
She responded the closest that she's been to that neighborhood since 2014 was the area of Schaefer and West Warren, where she gets her eyebrows taken care of.
Did you ask her whether or not she had been in contact with the victim, Mr. Madrigal, around December 19th, 20th, thereabouts?
Yes, I did.
And how did Miss O'Neill respond to that?
Miss O'Neill told me that Mr. Madrigal had called her and advised her that the Toys for Tots campaign, if you will, was being held at his firehouse, and that he told her to go to the firehouse to get some toys.
And did she say when about that conversation occurred?
It was sometime in the morning.
Of what day?
I'm sorry, on December 19th. No, I apologize. She did not know the date. It was sometime around Christmas, she said.
Very good. When she mentioned the Toys for Tots program, did you ask her about any children she may have had?
Yes.
And what did she tell you about her children?
She told me she had a daughter and she also had a son. I asked if they lived with her or where the children were at.
What did she tell you about that?
She said her daughter lived with her and that her son lived in Tennessee. Shortly after Christmas, she had sent him to Tennessee to attend better schools.
And who was he living with in Tennessee?
His father.
Is that what Miss O'Neill told you?
That's what she told me, yes.
How old was her son, or how old did she report her son to be to you?
I believe he's 6 years old.
Now, when you learned that Miss O'Neill had a 6-year-old son, did that make you think of anything?
Yes, it did.
Explain to the court, what light bulb went off when she mentions her 6-year-old son?
We had, once the hat was sent to the lab and then returned back to Detroit Police, a DNA profile was established in the hat. It was put into the CODIS system, which is a database, and it did not come up with a hit. I had then taken the hat out of evidence after it was tested and noticed that the hat was a youth size. And so that kind of gave me the idea that if we're looking for a child wearing that hat.
Did you follow up with Miss O'Neill about when she mentioned the Toys for Tots, about whether or not she had gotten into any other contact with Mr. Madrigal about the Toys for Tots, or done anything to follow up with it?
Yes, I inquired. Miss O'Neill told me that her and Mr. Soto went to the firehouse. I believe the fire trucks were gone. They were not allowed to actually get the Toys for Tots. And then she told me that was pretty much the end of it. She had not talked to Mr. Madrigal after that. I think the next thing she said was she saw it on the news where he'd been killed.
Did you also get a phone number from Miss O'Neill?
Yes, I got a couple numbers.
Do you recall off the top of your head what those numbers were?
No, I don't.
Did you record them at the time?
I did, and my partner, Border Patrol Agent Patrick Ashworth, completed a report kind of summarizing that interview.
Looking at that report, refresh your recollection as to what the phone numbers that Miss O'Neill gave you were.
Yes, sir.
I may approach.
Okay, Miss O'Neill provided area code 313-425-6202 as her current phone number at the time. Previous to that, she said she had a number of 629-3686.
368.
629-3686.
Did Miss O'Neill indicate how long she'd had that 425 number?
I believe she said for a couple months.
And what about the other number, the 62 number starts with 62?
Also a couple months. She changes phones regularly.
Did she tell you what number she had around December 19th, 20th, 21st?
Yes.
Which number
That
was
was
that?
the 629-3686 number.
Did you ask Miss O'Neill about her phone usage, whether or not anyone else had access to that particular phone?
Yes.
How did she respond at that time?
She said she's the only one that uses her phone.
What about, as far as particularly her 7-year-old son, what was the 7-year-old son's name?
Devin Samuels?
Devin Samuels?
Yes, sir.
Regarding Devin Samuels, did she say whether or not Devin stayed with anyone else when he was up here, or anyone else looked after him, you know what I mean?
No, I'm kind of confused.
Well, for example, did you ask Miss O'Neill whether or not she knew Mr. Soto or Mr. Rasnick?
Yes.
How did she respond as to Mr. Soto?
If I could say, I didn't ask her about Mr. Rasnick. I just asked her about Mr. Soto.
Did you know Mr. Rasnick existed at that point in time?
Not at that point.
Had you received that phone conversation from Miss Welch yet?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you ask her about her relationship to Mr. Soto?
Yes.
What information did she give you about her relationship to Mr. Soto?
She stated that's her boyfriend.
Did she say whether or not Mr. Soto ever looked after his son, young Devin Samuels, on his own?
No. In fact, I asked her specifically, and she said if they did anything as a family, they would all do things together, that Mr. Soto would not take Devin Samuels and do anything with him alone.
Now, after that initial conversation with Miss O'Neill, did you do any follow-up with regard to that DNA sample from the youth-size hat that was recovered from Mr. Madrigal's home?
Yes, sir.
What steps did you take to follow up with that?
I traveled down to Gallatin, Tennessee, and interviewed Devin Samuels in a forensic interview, and I also obtained a buccal swab or DNA swab from him.
And was that sent to the Michigan State Police Crime Lab?
Yes, sir, it was.
Your Honor, this time we'd move to admit, this time is proposed exhibit number 11. This would be not proposed 11, proposed exhibit number 6. This would be a Michigan State Police forensic report reflecting a DNA analysis. We move to admit it's report number 11.
Can we see that, please?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh. It's report number 11? Okay.
Are you admitting it now?
We move to admit at this point.
No
now.
objection.
And for the record, copies have previously been provided to defense counsels.
Your Honor, as for purposes of exam only, reserving all rights to issues with the sampling, et cetera, I would not object to the report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Sullivan?
No objection.
Proceed.
Yeah, for exam purposes only, we admit at this time exhibit number 6 of today's date. This would be the report of Ashley Bolahan, B-O-L-A-H-A-N. She's a forensic scientist in the biology unit of the Michigan State Police Forensic Science Division Northville Forensic Laboratory. She's an expert in DNA examination analysis. And specifically, the pertinent part of report number 11, she received a swab of a baseball hat, NV 15-5936-1A. She also received a known buccal swab from Devin Samuels. She had previously received and analyzed known buccal swabs from Timmy Soto, Brianna LaForest, Richard Paul Harvey LeJour, Thomas Mitchell, Nicole O'Neill, Angel Miranda Mall, Amber Zeismer, Aaron Collins, Michelle Gretsch, Mario Gretsch, and the victim, Mr. David Madrigal, Sr., as well as a known sample from Mr. David Madrigal, Jr. The results of her analysis on the DNA swab from the youth-size baseball hat Her conclusions are as follows. The DNA types obtained from item NV 15-5936-1A, swabs of baseball hat, are consistent with a mixture of 3 or more individuals, including at least one male contributor. Item NV 15-5936-34A, that would be Devin Samuel's known buccal sample, matches the major donor to item NV 15-5936-1A, swabs from baseball hat. The other known buccal samples previously listed were excluded as major donors to that item, swabs of baseball hat. The minor donors to item NV 15-5936-1A, swabs of baseball hat, are insufficient for conclusive association purposes. And published Exhibit 60 for
Okay. Thank you.
Sergeant Sullivan, at some point in time, did you also prepare and execute a search warrant at the Best Western Woodhaven Inn located at 21700 West Road and I-75 in the city of Woodhaven, Michigan?
I had it executed, I did not prepare it though. Yes.
Why did you have that executed?
Based on analysis by Stan Brew, it was our phone analysis, I had that search warrant executed there.
And did you get some records from the Best Western?
Yes, sir.
This is just their computerized check-in.
No objection for purposes of exam.
Sergeant Sullivan, can you just identify proposed exhibit number 5?
Yes, this is a printout from the Best Western Woodhaven Inn.
And what does it reflect?
It reflects that Ms. Nicole O'Neill arrived at the location on December 19th, 2015, departed on December 21st, 2015, and there's a second page where Nicole O'Neill arrived back at Best Western on December 21st, 2015, and departed on December 23rd, 2015.
Does it indicate the method of payment that was used?
Yes, it does.
What was the method of payment used?
Cash.
People would move to admit proposed number 5.
No objection, Your Honor.
For purpose of exam only, no objection?
Objection.
Okay, proceed.
Now, at some point in time, did you speak to Miss O'Neill again?
Yes.
And would that be on March the 10th of 2016?
Yes, sir, it is.
Well, I
I'm
apologize.
sorry, what was the date?
March the 10th of 2016.
Thank you.
That initial conversation with her, was that on January the 26th?
26th. Yes, sir.
How did you come to speak with Miss O'Neill on March the 10th of 2016?
She was arrested and brought into custody and brought to Detroit Police Headquarters.
Okay. On that occasion, did you advise Miss O'Neill anything?
Yes, of her constitutional rights.
If I may approach you with what has been marked for today's date as proposed exhibit number 7. Taking a look at proposed exhibit number 7, can you tell me what that is?
Yes, this is a Detroit Police Department constitutional rights certificate of notification.
And is that in fact the one that you worked through with Miss O'Neill on March the 10th?
Yes, it is.
What time did you begin this interview?
The constitutional rights were signed at 11:42, so the interview began probably within a minute or so.
Did this also take place in a room that's audio and visual recorded?
Yes, sir.
How did you work through the advice and rights with Miss O'Neill?
I explained to Miss O'Neill that I had to, she had a right to her constitutional rights, that I had to notify her of them. And what I did was I asked her to read them out loud to me, and then place her initials next to each right, stating that she understood her rights.
And did she do something to acknowledge that she understood each and every one of those rights?
Yes, she did. She initialed next to each one, then she also signed and dated and timed the form.
Very good. After being advised of those rights, did she make a statement to you?
Yes, she did.
How long have you been a police officer?
Almost 19 years.
In your time as a police officer, have you seen people that are drunk or high?
Yes.
Did Miss O'Neill appear to be drunk or high?
She appeared to be drinking. I asked her some questions at the beginning of the interview to try to determine if I felt she was too drunk to interview. She stated she had a few drinks. If I could refer to the report, I have it written down. She stated she had consumed 5 drinks over the past or previous 6-hour period. I asked her if she knew where she was, if she knew the date, and she said yes, absolutely. I was very comfortable that she was not intoxicated to the point where she didn't understand me and talk to me.
Did she say anything to you, hey, I'm too drunk to talk to you, or did she make any protestation about that?
No.
Okay. How do you begin that after advising her, well, people would move to admit proposed exhibit number, is that 5? 7. Proposed exhibit number 7, and we turn the witness over to be voir dire as the voluntariness of the statement.
Just a couple quick questions. You said that Ms. O'Neill was arrested
Yes,
before the statement. Where was she arrested at?
at her house.
And she was transported to the station?
Moved to Detroit Detention Center to be processed, and then to Detroit Police Headquarters.
What time was she arrested?
I don't know exactly. I would think 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m., somewhere in that area.
Was she sleeping or awake when she was arrested, if you know?
But she was awake. I spoke with her throughout that night, and I was actually trying to get her to come into our station to come talk to me, and then she agreed she would, but then she drove home. So she was arrested at her house.
So she was booked and processed before, were you part of that process, or did you send other officers?
No, I was at the house. I went out to the house, and then other officers arrested her. The other officers transported her and processed her, and then I met her back at the police headquarters.
Okay, had she, and how, approximately how long was this whole process from start to finish? In other words, when you went to the house for the arrest and you completed your interview process?
Well, I left, my interview process, I left shortly after probably 10 or 15 minutes into talking to her. So my total process would probably have been, maybe from the time she was arrested, taken, booked in, till the time I left the interview room was probably an hour and a half.
And then you turned her over to another officer, is that correct?
Yes.
And what was his name?
Detective Moises Jimenez?
Jimenez. And Jimenez continued the interview process?
Yes.
Okay. When you were talking to Ms. O'Neill, I imagine you had a conversation at her home?
Yes.
Did you have any discussion of what the charges were?
No, just that she was under arrest.
Any discussion about any plea negotiation?
Absolutely not, no.
Any questions by her about plea negotiation?
No, ma'am. It was very short. I told her things have changed since the last time we spoke. She was being arrested and that we would talk back at the station.
And once she was in your interview room, correct?
Yes.
The station. Did you discuss the charges?
I don't believe I said what the charges were. I just started talking to her. I don't think I said she was charged. At that point, I don't think we had the warrant signed.
Okay. Did you have any conversation before the advice of rights was signed?
Before it was signed?
Yes.
I don't believe so. I generally don't. I try to get right into the rights, so we're covered.
Any discussion about her children?
When?
At the time you were Mirandizing her, at the time you brought her into the interview?
No.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
People would do our motion to admit proposed exhibit number 7, the advice of rights.
No objection for purpose of exam.
The court makes a finding that the defendant's statement was knowingly and voluntarily given and will admit people's proposed exhibit 7
Thank you. After advising the rights, did she agree to speak with you?
Yes.
Did you ask her again about the events of December the 19th, 20th, thereabouts?
Yes, I did.
And how did she initially respond to you?
She's very evasive. I told her that the investigation was pretty much complete. I know what happened. I know who did what, and I needed her to tell me her part and what she did during the incident. She was evasive. She said, "I told you, we already talked about this. I wasn't over there." I then advised her of the findings of the DNA regarding the hat that was found on the couch.
And when you confronted her with the information about her son's DNA being on the youth hat, what happens there?
I basically told her that it matched her son's hat and she needs to stop and just tell me the truth about what happened there. She told me that, okay, I will tell you the truth. And then she told me that she was there with her son to pick up a letter that her cousin, Sean Faho, sent to Mr. Madrigal. She said she picked up the letter and her son left the house, and that's all she knows about it.
Did she say whether or not Mr. Soto or anybody else was with her at that point in time?
Yes, she said nobody was with her. It was her and her son.
What do you do at that point?
Continue talking to her, trying to get her to understand what information we had. I advised her that Mr. Soto was in the room behind us and that Mr. Rasnick was in the room on the other side of Mr. Soto, trying to get her to understand that we had the people involved. She was still evasive. I played the audio tape of the phone recording with Miss Welch to her, to which she really did not respond to it.
At that point in time, do you keep talking to her, or do you hand her over to another investigator?
It was shortly after that I left the room and asked Detective Jimenez to come in and talk to her.
Okay. Where do you go at that point in time?
I then went in to talk to Mr. Soto.
I believe you previously testified about his statement that you took from him.
Yes, sir.
We've got no further questions at this time of the witness. Defense attorney is made.
Yes, sir.
Cross.
No questions on behalf of Mr. Soto.
Yeah, I get it. Detective. You said you left the room after about 15 minutes to go to Mr. Soto's interview room?
Approximately, yeah, it wasn't long. It was not long. Probably 15 minutes to a half hour.
Your approach when interviewing, you're trained in interviewing persons of interest, suspects, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how would you describe your approach to it?
Kind of just a calm demeanor. I kind of try to let them know when I do know something, what I know. I ask people to tell the truth. More so, I always, from my training experience, my background, seems like it works out better for people that are truthful. So ultimately, that's what I ask them to do. I don't yell, I don't scream, I don't threaten. Just talk to them.
So you try to be friendly and get cooperation?
Yes.
And honest?
Yes.
Would you describe other police officers' styles as different than yours?
Sure.
Mr. Jimenez, is it? Detective Jimenez, is that correct? Did I say that right?
Yes, ma'am.
His style's different, right?
Yeah, much different.
He's a little more aggressive.
More abrasive.
More abrasive?
Yes.
Okay. So you often would trade off with somebody to try to get to the truth of the matter, for different styles,
Yeah,
correct?
definitely. What I try to do is find a style that would fit the person we're going to talk to. If somebody's going to, what I determine will talk to me and have a conversation with me, I'll talk to them. I asked Mr. Jimenez, or Detective Jimenez, to talk to Mr. Rasnick because just from what I heard and everything that I built on the case, I felt that he'd be a better fit to talk to him. So it's usually
It wasn't working out with you and Ms. O'Neill, so you left the room and asked Mr. Jimenez, or Detective Jimenez to go in. Is that accurate?
That's fair, I think, yeah.
Did you smell alcohol on Ms. O'Neill when you were in the room with her?
I smelled alcohol, yes.
Had you seen her drinking before?
Have I seen her?
Yeah.
No.
Any other occasion where you would have seen her?
No, I've only saw her the one time before that.
And at that one time, that was in January,
Yes.
and she was sober?
She appeared to be sober,
Appeared to be
yes.
sober
Yes.
then? So you could note some differences in her behavior between January and March?
Behavior was similar. I did smell alcohol, though.
Did she smell alcohol? Did you ask her anything about her drinking history or substance abuse history?
I don't recall asking her that.
Okay. There was a video played just a while ago of the vehicle driving away. I think it was some sort of van.
Yes, it appeared to be a light-colored van.
Do you know who was driving that?
Do I know?
Based on that?
Well, based on the video, no.
Okay. And you also indicated that you asked Ms. O'Neill, I think back in January, about her relationship with Mr. Soto. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And did you learn anything about the dynamics of that relationship?
Yeah, learned a lot about it.
You learned that it was abusive. Is that accurate?
I don't think she told me it was abusive. She described him as a lovable.
Even if it is accurate, what's the relevance?
The relevance would be how a person responds in an interview setting when they have fear of a significant other.
My understanding is that the defendant, Mr. Soto, wasn't in this interview session.
That's correct, Your Honor, but she was being questioned about it, and she was aware at the March interview that he was in another room.
I'll give you a little latitude.
Little latitude, I appreciate it. I understand. Thank you, Your Honor. Did you ever research any or investigate any police reports relative to that relationship?
Yes.
And did you discover any?
Yes.
And they were relative to abuse,
Yes.
including one where there was a...
This is,
Okay.
we're going far.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that. You said that she indicated to you that they go places as a family. Ms. O'Neill indicated to you in the March interview that they go places together as a family.
Yes.
Do you know who she was talking about, who they are?
Yeah, Mr. Soto, herself, Devin, her son, and Brianna, her daughter.
And you indicated that she was at the Best Western the 19th to the 21st, and then again the 21st to the 23rd. Is that accurate?
According to the records, yes.
Okay. Is there a pool at Best Western?
I don't know if there is or not.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Did you check the records to see if there's other times the family went there?
Yes.
And what was your results?
Well, Nicole O'Neal, I believe it was back in April or May of 2015, she had checked into the Best Western.
Okay, so there was another indication of her being there. Thank
Yes,
you. With respect to the toys, did Toys for Tots was raised? The issue of Toys for Tots in the interview in March?
Yes, ma'am.
And in January?
Yes.
Did you investigate the police house or the firehouse with respect to her picking up those toys?
Yes.
And did you learn that she was on the list?
No, she was not on the list.
Okay. Did you learn that that fire department engaged in Toys for Tots, that particular location?
Yes.
Okay. Just one moment, Your Honor. Just a few more questions. With regard to the baseball cap, were you at the scene when Mr. Madrigal was found dead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many people were at the scene?
Quite a few people at the scene.
And what measures were taken to protect the integrity of the scene?
The police would not allow, people in or out. It certainly wouldn't allow them to remove anything from the house or the premises.
Are you aware of people putting slippers on over their shoes?
When at the scene?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Okay, okay, thank you. Now, are you aware of who lives on that street? Was that street canvassed?
Yes.
Were there people in that neighborhood that are friends or relatives of Ms. O'Neill,
Well,
if you know?
I know, but I don't think they're friends. There was a relative that lived in close proximity to the house, yes.
Okay. Did you know if Ms. O'Neill could have been at that home in history, that relative or person you're referring to, in 2015?
I was told by Miss O'Neill that she wasn't there until she wasn't there since 2014.
You don't know when the baseball cap was left at the home, is that accurate?
That's correct.
You don't know the date or time, is that accurate?
But it was left?
It was there.
That's
You know
it.
it was there?
Correct, I know it was there, yes.
Okay. Just one moment. Thank you. Nicole? Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Silver, anything?
No, thank you.
Mr. Casey, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Just so I'm clear, defendant O'Neill did indicate that at some point in time, her and her son at this location, but didn't admit to being there on or about December 19th.
That's correct. The first time we talked, she denied being there in the previous 2 years. Then once we had the evidence and I asked her about it, she then said, I did go there with my son sometime around Christmas to get a letter, but nobody else was there. Well, besides Mr. Madrigal.
Okay. Any questions based on my question?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you, sir. You missed that.
Thank you.
This time we'll call Detective Moises Jimenez.
How many more witnesses do you have?
Detective Jimenez for the written statement, and then Stanbrook. Retired ATF agent Stanbrook. There it is. The written, missed out? And the written statement is going to be accepted. Yes.
Well, bless you, whoever that was.
Raise your right hand, sir. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. And again, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, can you begin by telling the court your full name and your occupation?
Moises Jimenez, currently employed with the City of Detroit, Detroit Police Department Homicide Section.
I want to direct your attention back to the early morning hours of March the 11th of 2016. On that date, that is the evening of the 10th going over into the 11th, were you working that night?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Did you have occasion to go in and speak with a person who's identified to you as Ms. Nicole O'Neal?
Yes, I did.
Do you see her in court today?
Yeah, she's the one sitting next to, between Tim and Chris in the green Wayne County jumpsuit.
For the record, the witness is identified and described the location and clothing of Ms. Nicole O'Neal. How did you come to meet up with Ms. O'Neal that early morning?
Sergeant Sullivan, the officer in charge, requested me to talk to Ms. O'Neill.
And did you talk to her?
Yes, I did.
At some point in time, did you write out a written transcript of the questions that you asked and the answers you received?
Yes, I did.
The video was marked as proposed exhibit number 8. Ask if you recognize that.
Yes, sir. This is a copy of the 7-page statement that I took from Ms. O'Neill.
And does that record The questions you asked and the answers you received.
Yes, sir.
Now, did this take place in a room that had audio and visual recording?
Yes, it did.
Can you explain to the court, is that every question that you asked of her, every answer that she gave to you?
No.
When do you prepare that? Do you prepare that sort of at the beginning as you're going along or at the end? You know what I mean?
For the most part, it'll be at the end, once I get some kind of a conversation going and trying to figure out what happened, and she'll tell me.
So the written statement would kind of memorialize what you've talked about up to that point.
Yes.
All right. People would move to admit proposed exhibit number 8 through this witness.
On behalf of Mr. Soto, I have no objections with the understanding that the statements made by that person cannot be used against my client.
Understood.
Same for me on behalf of Mr. Rasnick. I thought we have a continuing objection.
Understood.
Thank you, Judge.
Just a quick one here.
Mr. Voluntary?
Yes, please. It's Detective Jimenez, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
This indicates, if you look at your statement on the bottom, the signature of Ms. O'Neill at 4:11 a.m. Is that accurate?
That's my writing, the 4:11 a.m. is my
Yes.
writing.
So that, in other words, she signed this at 4:11 a.m.
Yes, when we ended, correct.
And what time did you begin?
I began at 3:04 a.m.
Do you know what went on during the period, Sergeant Sullivan left the room and you entered the room?
No, I
For
did
those
not.
hours in between? About how many hours passed?
I don't know.
You don't know. Do you know if any food, water, anything was provided during that period?
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill? It was?
Yes.
What was provided?
Water, because it was in front of her when I started talking to her.
Very
And some
well.
Kleenex.
But you don't know who provided it?
No.
Okay. Was could you smell alcohol on her when you entered the room at 3:04?
No.
No? Did you discuss the charges with her when you entered the room at 3:04?
Like,
What she's going to be charged with, what she is charged with?
no. I don't believe I did. It's kind of hard to remember this long time ago and the time factor that was in there because I didn't write everything down.
Did you, fair enough, sir. Did you talk to her about any deals that could be made? Should she be more cooperative?
I don't believe I did.
Did you have conversation with Sergeant Sullivan about technique with discussing things with Ms. O'Neill?
The only conversation I had with Sergeant Sullivan is if she was already read her rights.
Thank you, sir. I have no objection for purposes of exam, Your Honor.
For purposes of examination only, the court makes a finding that the statement was knowingly and voluntarily given.
Thank you very much. I think you were asked if, did you walk into the room at 3:04 a.m. or is that when you started writing down the written portion?
I believe that's what I started writing down.
I got you. Have you been talking to her for a little while?
Objection, oh, sorry.
Prior.
Not my, sorry, I can't help myself sometimes.
Please
Sorry.
try. Please try. Had you been talking to her prior to that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what time you actually walked into the room?
No.
Would that be recorded on the audio or video
Yes.
recording? Can you please read for us now the questions you asked and the answers you received from Miss, or recorded from Miss Nicole Marie O'Neill?
Sure. Question, do you understand your constitutional rights that Sergeant Sullivan read out loud or you read out loud? Answer, yes. Question, tell me what happened with you and Dave who lived on Vaughn. Answer, Dave called me around 8:30 a.m. at my phone. I was sleeping. Dave called my daughter's phone. Can I skip over the phone number and not say it out loud?
We just give you a phone number.
Correct. Who was awake, getting to go to work. My daughter Brianna woke me up saying there was this Dave on the phone. Dave asked me what I was doing and asked me for 2 cigarettes, like quick. I didn't want to go, but I told him, okay. Page 2. Then what did you do? Answer. I woke up like 9:15 and drove over there. Tim wanted to take his money. This was at the house still. I had told him no. Tim was like, okay, okay. He kind of blew me off. I knew what he was thinking, but I didn't knew it was going to go that far. Question. So, who rode in your vehicle to Dave's house? Answer. Me, Chris, Devon, and Timmy. Question. How long did you stay outside before you went into Dave's house? Answer. I went right in. All of us went right in. Question. What was said on the way? Answer. Nothing was said. Question. When was the plan done? Answer. When Timmy had called Chris and he had came over and they were talking but in the room. I asked, what's going on? Why do you have to talk to him privately? Tim was like telling Chris to shut the fuck up because Chris started saying, so what are we going to do? Just take his money. I asked Timmy, page 3, what's going on? And he was like, the least you know, the better. Question. How did you get into the house and through where? Answer. Dave opened the door. He was expecting us. We smoked a couple of cigars and we had a couple of shots. Question. Did you talk to Dave on the way there? Answer. No. He just rushed me to get there because he had to go downtown. Question. How do you know Dave? Answer. My cousin, Sean Fejo. He used to live across the street. His girlfriend, Erin Collins, still stays there. Question. How many times have you been in Dave's house? Answer. Once. That one time. Yes. Question. Does Dave know Tim? Answer. Yeah, through Sean. Tim used to work for Dave. Question. How long were you there before you left? Page 4. Answer, like 15 minutes. Question. Were you flirting with Dave? Answer. No. I just friendly. Question. How old is your child, Devon? Answer. 6 years old. Question. So you had mentioned that Dave had gone upstairs to get some money from the safe. Answer. Yes. He said he was going to bring out $150 because he never did because he couldn't remember the combination. That's what he said. Question. What was the money for? Answer. He wanted powder, blow. Question. Who was supposed to go get it? Answer. Timmy was supposed to get it. Dave asked Timmy to go get it. Question. Then what happened? Answer. He came downstairs. We took a shot, me and Dave. We were standing by the couch and the counter. I was supposed to come back later, especially, page 5, because my son left his hat there. Question. Why didn't you go back? Answer. I was busy Christmas shopping. Question. What day were you there? Answer. Saturday. Question. And you never went back within the next few days? Answer. No. Did you call Dave after that Saturday? No, I worked Sunday. Did you call Dave at any time after that day? Answer. No. Question. So tell me, how did you end up burning Dave's car? Where did you follow Tim from? Answer. Junction and a side street. I left in my mom's van, white van. They already took it, the police. Page 6. Tell me about the burning vehicle. Answer. When I pulled up, it was in the alley. I seen it blow. Timmy did that. He ran back to my van. It was me and Brianna. Question. When did you find out Dave was dead? Answer. When it came on the news. I had already asked Timmy, and he said it was none of my business, and I didn't want to know part of it. Question. Was Dave getting out of hand? Answer. Yes, with me. He was filling on me, and it was in front of my son. Dave told Tim to take my son and leave me there, just me. I didn't want to. Question. Did you leave and come back? Answer, no. When you left Dave's house with your son, who stayed with Dave? Answer, Timmy and Chris. Question. Have you talked to Chris since then? Page 7. Answer, no. Question. Did you call the police afterwards? Parentheses news. Answer, no, I didn't. Why haven't you told Sergeant Sullivan all this before? Answer, I was scared of everything. Timmy, the whole situation. I didn't know what to do. Question, is there anything you want to add or change to the statement? Is this good? Answer, I think. Question, if you knew that Tim and Chris were going to rob Dave, why did you still go to Dave's house? Answer, because I tried to talk Timmy out of it. Question, anything you want to tell Dave's family? Answer, I'm very sorry. I can't take back this life. I can't take back what happened. No one is going to forgive me. I fucked up. I didn't know this was going to happen. And that is the end of the statement, and she signed the end of each page. I'm the one that put the date and the time.
After you completed, this is all in your handwriting except for her signature at the bottom of the page, is that correct?
That's correct.
After you completed writing out, did she have an opportunity to go through it, make any corrections, additions, what have you?
Yes, because that was even asked.
Did she change anything, alter anything, want to add anything besides?
No, I have further questions.
Very good. I have no further questions at this witness. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Sir, on page 6 of 7 on this statement, when you were reading in the second question, when did you find out Dave was dead? Answer, when it came on the news. I had asked Timmy, and he said it was none of my business, period. And I didn't want no part of it. This no, K-N-O-W, should be no, N-O, correct? In other words, she didn't want no part of it. His death.
We would have to see the video for that part, ma'am, because...
Did you write, I didn't want no part of it?
Yes, that's what I wrote.
Okay. And is English your second language?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, no means no meaning I wasn't part of it, or I didn't want any part of his death. Is that your understanding of what she said?
Like I said, I would have to refer back to the video because I'm not. It will depend on her expression, the way she says it. Because if you read it, it says, I didn't want to know.
I didn't want no part of it. It doesn't say I didn't want to know. It says I didn't want no part of it. What did that mean to you at the time, sir?
Once again, ma'am, we have to go back to the video because I do not remember. I know I was writing extremely fast.
But she had indicated to you that she had left to get cocaine, and her son and her had left. Is that accurate?
I believe that she said she left with her son.
Okay, so she left. She indicated that.
Yes.
Okay. And then she said when she heard about the death, she didn't want no part of it. When Timmy said it's none of her business. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Sir, she indicated to you quickly in the interview, right, that Mr. Soto was very dismissive of her, correct?
Okay.
Is that correct?
I don't know her.
Well, page 2 of 7, the last question, indicates that apparently Chris and Timmy were talking and she wasn't included in the conversation. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And that he tells her later is none of her business, and that he doesn't want, the less she knows, the better, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so he was dismissive of her. Is that fair?
He does this witness kind of speculate based on what
Very well.
Mr. Neal
I'll
reported
withdraw
to
the
someone else's
question.
statement.
I have no
Also,
problem with
conclusion
that.
sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. Were you aware of any abuse in the relationship?
No, I didn't do their workups or anything.
But on page 7 of 7, when you asked her why didn't she tell Sergeant Sullivan all of this before, she said she was scared of everything, comma, Timmy, comma. Accurate?
Yes.
So she told you she was scared of Timmy. Accurate?
You can see it that way, yes.
She also indicated to you that she heard something of maybe they were going to take money from him. Is that accurate? Timmy and Chris. Or maybe you're going to take money from Dave, the deceased.
That's not exactly what I asked, but yes.
That's accurate then. And she said then she wanted to try to talk him out of it. Is that accurate?
Because, yes. That's not exactly what I asked or the answer, but yes.
Well, but that's what happened in the interview you just said, right?
No, that's what, you're asking me what I wrote down or what happened in the interview, man.
Well, is what you wrote down not accurate?
No, it's not.
What you wrote down is not accurate. What's not accurate about what you wrote down?
I mean, yes, it is accurate what I said.
Then she told you she wanted to talk him out of any of these crazy ideas. Is right? I think it's on, let me find it.
Page 707, when I asked her if you knew that Tim and Chris were going to rob Dave, why did you still go to Dave's house? Her answer was, because I tried to talk Timmy out of it.
Okay. So yes, she wanted to talk him out of any of that sort of thought, right? That's
Yes.
what she told you.
Yes.
You were trying to be as accurate as possible when you write this out, aren't you?
Yes.
You're trained to write these out accurately, right?
When I say a word, I write it down, yes.
Okay. Well, that's very important.
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware of any of the cell phone communication at the time of this interview?
Vaguely.
Vaguely?
Yes, vaguely. I didn't go through the entire cell phone records or what Sergeant Sullivan...
But you knew it was true that it was Mr. Madrigal who contacted Ms. O'Brien and not vice versa that morning.
No, I did
Ms.
not.
O'Neill, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got the Irish mixed up. You were not aware that it was Mr. Madrigal who contacted Ms. O'Neill?
No.
Now, when you said you write on this report the time you start writing, so that 3:04 a.m. is the time you start actually put pen to paper?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what time did you go into the room?
Probably like an hour before, if that.
And if that, so maybe 2 a.m. or later?
Like I said, I don't know. I know like within an hour before.
Within an hour before. So sometime between 2 and 3 you went in that room?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you don't know what was going on after Sergeant Sullivan left and she was sitting there other than there was a water in front of her and tissue?
That is correct.
Okay. And what went on between 2 and 3 or whatever exact time when you were in that room?
You asking me?
Yes, it's a question, I'm sorry, it's a question.
We were talking about Dave and his house and her son, everything else that was, for the most part, written down on this piece of paper.
And you knew that she had not told Sergeant Sullivan this information, that she told you. Is that true?
Yes.
So what was your technique to get her to come out and tell you what the truth was?
I just talked to her.
Okay. So by talking to her, you got her to tell you the truth?
To tell me her side of the story.
Her side of the story, okay. When you completed this at 4:11 a.m., did you leave the room?
Yes.
Have you spoken to her since, Ms. O'Neill?
No.
Just one moment. Well, just one quick question, sir. When you came in the room at sometime around 2 or after a.m. in the morning, what was Ms. O'Neill doing?
Sitting there?
She was awake?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Can you redirect?
No, you're not.
Thank you, sir. You may sit down.
Thank you.
Here, this time, we'll call our final witness of the stand group.
We can.
Yes, I do.
Right here.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Do you have to share this, all three of us?
Well, he's going to have the other, I'm going to have one.
This is case 1657995, State of Michigan versus Maurice Thomas Stringer. Defendant's charged on count 1, carrying a concealed weapon, count 2, weapons firearms possession by felons. Appearances for the record, please.
Elizabeth Van Mark for the people.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Mark Technical, we have Mr. Stringer, who approaches the podium and will stand to my right.
Okay. What's your pleasure, counsel?
Your Honor, I have informed counsel that the people are adding count 3 felony firearm under 750227B/A, and that was discussed at the PCC as well. Even given that, he's still, I believe, elected to waive the exam, so there's no objection.
I have been so advised, Your Honor. I have no objection to that. We use the formal reading. We stand group right now.